Did you hear him too? I asked my wife that more than once, and she would say, "Don't start," but I still asked. I am asking again. It is late. I want to sleep, but this needs to come out straight. I will try. We stayed at the farmhouse because we thought it would be quiet. That is how we said it at first. Quiet and cheap, and we could fix it, and no one would bother us. I said it more than she did. I told her the boards were a plus. Already secure, I said. That was a joke. I do not make that joke anymore. We boarded more anyway. I remember that part clear as a bell. Sorry. I should not say bell right away. We covered the windows with fresh planks I bought from the mill, hammered them in over the old ones. I cut my thumb with the nail head. She held it, told me to breathe. We dragged a dresser in front of the back door. We stacked the couch against the hall. We did all that before the rain came. It rained the first night, a slow, heavy rain that made a sound like someone whispering against the boards. It was just rain then. We set up in the front room by the radio. It was an old box that kept one station on good nights. I am not sure why we kept it. Habit. We were not even getting the weather. I turned the dial while she rolled the bandage over my thumb. She said, "Leave it off. Save the battery." "It's not even plugged," I said. It wasn't. The cord was frayed. I crossed myself without thinking when I saw the wires. I grew up with that. She laughed at me a little. We ate cold beans and bread. We were between paychecks. We told each other we would make a list in the morning, go into town, buy real food. We said that. I am writing it down so you know we meant to. We were not hiding then. We were just trying to settle down. It started late, after we laid down on the floor under a quilt. The house clicked as it cooled. I could hear the drip in the sink. Then the radio came on. Not loud, just the tiny voice you get when the tuner catches something by accident. I sat up and turned to it, but I did not touch it. I swear I did not touch it. The dial stayed dead. The little lamp in the knob did not glow. "Good evening, Daniel," the voice said. I froze. No, I stood. I stood first, then froze. "Good evening, Anna," it said next. Anna pulled the quilt up to her chin like a kid. She whispered, "Turn it off." I put my hand on it and the wood felt dry and warm. I pressed every switch. There were only two. It did not stop. "Scripture," the voice said, and he read from memory. Only parts. It was not a sermon like church. Kaledik. He was eating the words, like chewing them. There were little laughs and pauses. It sounded like a pipe in a wall made to talk. He said lines about doors and watchers, and the mark of those who kneel and fast. He said our names again, and the house felt too tight. "It's someone with a radio outside," I said. I tried to say it calm. "It's a prank." Anna said, "We don't know anyone out here." She said that like it should have made me feel better. It did not. At the end, he said, 5. Just that. The word sat in the room like another person. In the morning, I checked the boards. I admit I am not sure if this was the first morning or the second. I think it was the first. It was still wet. The ground stuck to my shoes. I took the hammer and went around tapping each plank. I was going to add longer nails. On the inside of the plank over the kitchen window, there were words carved. Shallow, just enough to catch the gray light. A verse about blood on door frames. I had to squint. The letters were flat and careful. The inside of the plank. I said that out loud and then said it again. The inside, I said. Like that should wake Anna up more. "You did it when you were drunk," she said, but she knew I had not. I had not had anything in days, and we both knew it. I ran my thumb over the cut words and got a splinter. I spit on it and pulled it with my teeth. There were more lines in the hall, and one over the back door. The wood dust was still on the floor under the door one. I touched it and it came up on my fingertip. New. We told each other we would ignore it. That is stupid now. I wrote that sentence twice and crossed it out in my head. But that was the plan. Ignore it. Anna said, "Let's move to the other room. We won't see them." We dragged our mattress into the front room instead. It still smelled like dust and mouse piss. Sorry. It did. We kept the radio on the floor and put a blanket over it. We tried to leave at noon. I said, "We'll go out the back, step over the porch, cut through the field." She nodded and pulled her hair into a knot. I lifted the dresser. It scraped the wood. The back door had a little round peephole in it. I never used it. I looked then. I saw our own back steps, wet and cracked, and beyond that the path. There was a ring there on the top step. Maybe it had been there. No, I didn't see it the day before. It was a circle of ash. Neat, thin, like a drawn line. It was so even it made me feel sick. There were little white scratches around it too. Chalk. Shapes. Not letters, but shapes. I pushed the door and it did not move. The latch was free. The hinges were fine. It just felt heavy. I think it was the angle, or the swollen frame. I do not know. Anna reached over me and touched the circle with her fingertip. The ash smeared. She wiped it on her jeans and left a gray streak. "Let's go front," I said. My voice broke. I sounded like a boy. We went to the front and pulled the couch back. Under the door there was a note. Someone had slid it through the crack. The paper was lined, like from a school pad. The edge had the little holes. It had dirt on it and a little rusty smear. Blood. I smelled it and then wished I had not. It had a few words in block letters. Fast. Do not eat. Do not drink. Wait. I threw it back out, and the wet sucked it to the porch. Anna said, "We are not doing that," and laughed a little, then covered her mouth like it was wrong to laugh. We opened the door a crack. The wind pushed ash into the crack. The world outside looked the same but wrong. The path had more of those gray rings, like someone had set bowls down and lifted them away. There were chalk marks on the fence posts. Lines joined with little hooks. There were nails on the porch rail, just set there in a neat row. Their points ticked the glass when the wind shifted. Tap, tap, tap. I flinched too hard and hit my shoulder on the door. We shut it. We left. We moved back to the front room and ate bread. We ate it fast like someone was going to take it from us. We both chewed and stared at the curtain. That was the first day. I think. It blurred. The radio was quiet in the light. I almost forgot it moved air at night. That night he came back. The voice was deeper, like he was closer to the speaker. He said, "Day 4, and then he laughed and corrected himself. "No, 5. 5 to none." He said scripture again. He used words like seal and mark. He made it into rules. He said our names between the verses, our first and last, like he was calling roll. He rang something while he talked. A small bell. Handbell. The clapper hit fast on the last word of each line. Ding, ding, ding. It made my teeth hurt. I put a pillow over the radio and it did not change a thing. We moved rooms again. That did nothing too. The words were in the boards over the new room as well. New ones. A different book. Different chapter. The cuts were a little deeper. The curls of wood on the floor were fresh. I swept them with my palm into a pile, and the pile kept wanting to open again. Sorry. Not wanting. It just fell apart. My head was bad. I crossed myself. Anna said, "Stop. Stop with that." We stayed up until dawn. Then we slept. We woke very late. We forgot to drink water. That is true. I only remembered when my tongue stuck to my teeth. I do not know if we listened to him about the fast. We just did not have much left. I had a cheap can of meat and 2 apples. We cut 1 apple in half and saved the rest. I could hear my stomach when I bent. I thought that was funny for a second, and then I was mad that I thought it was funny. That afternoon, there was a knock. 3 slow knocks, 2 careful. "Who is it?" I said like an idiot. There was a scrape and another note under the front door. This one had more blood. It had our names again. It said, "Read." I read. It had a verse number. It had a time. 11 at night. Wait by the radio. The O in radio was round and dark from the pen. I kept that page in my pocket. I lost it later. I wish I had not. He wrote another line on the back. I did not see it then. I only saw it later. It said, "Eat last, Daniel." Anna says she told me not to read them out loud. I think she did. I did anyway. I took the flashlight and went to the crawl space to check if there was a way out under the kitchen. That was my idea. The hole was small. I pulled the plywood up and lowered myself in. The dirt smelled like old rain. It was tight. I pushed the light out ahead and saw jars. Several jars with the lids off. The lids had been sharpened on a stone. They sat ready, edge up. There were lines of twine tied from beam to beam at ankle height and shin height. Little fish hooks hung from the twine. I pulled back fast and hit my head and cursed. The lights swung and showed chalk marks on the brick piers. The same shapes as outside, but doubled. Over and over. It looked like a child had had a long day. I dragged myself out. I had dirt and spider webs in my shirt. Anna asked, "Well?" I said, "There's junk. Traps. Hooks." She said a bad word. Then she said, "Sorry." She wiped my face with a rag like I was the one that needed care. I would have cleared it, but the twine had little bells tied on in spots. That is true. Tiny ones, like off a cat collar. If I cut one, it would ring and the sound would go and go under the floor. I had no knife small enough to cut them quiet. We stayed upstairs. The knocks came again. I turned the peephole and saw him, but this was later. No. That night was the first time I saw him. It was on day 4. 4 to none. Forgive me. It is blurred. That next night the voice came again. It was the same man. I know that. The radio sounded a little louder. Maybe I put it closer by mistake. He said, "Day 4. He said, "Daniel, do not eat." He said, "Anna, keep your hands clean." He put the bell right to the speaker. It rang so sharp my eyes watered. He talked about doors again. He said, "If you bar it, it will be opened. If you unbar it, it will be closed." He thought that was very clever. At the end he said, 4, and I could hear him breathing while he held that last letter. We did not sleep. At some point we found the diary. I do not know if it was the morning after 3 or the afternoon before 2. I went to the cellar to get jars. I thought we could wedge them in the crawl and make the twine lift up. Dumb. I stepped on a rotten stair and my knee went through up to the thigh. The pain was white. I pulled myself out and sat on the steps for a long minute with my mouth open, not making sound. Then I laughed. I can't tell you why. Anna came down and looked at me and did not laugh. She saw a tin on the shelf and said, "What is that?" The tin had a false bottom. There was a book under it, a little one bound with twine. It smelled like mouse and mold. It started 10 years back. The first pages were about rain, about the milking room that had been there before. Then the pages got stranger. Words like visit and meet and clean. There were names. A long list. 2 pages from the back had our names. Daniel. Anna. The ink was different. Newer. The hand was the same, I think. It said we would come in the fall. It said we would board the north window first. It said she will cut her right leg on the 4th night. I looked up when I read that, and Anna was already holding the back of her calf. She said, "It got me, and I did not understand." She had a long, shallow cut. I had not noticed. She had hit one of those jar lids when she went to look at the crawl with me earlier. It had bleached the cut white around it. We both went quiet. Then I threw the book at the wall. It hit and slid down and opened to a page where it said, "He will take the mark on the 5th. I crossed myself. I did it so hard my knuckles clicked. That night the knocks were not knocks. They were pounding. Whole body against wood. The handbell rang between. The nails on the porch rail ticked the glass even when the wind stopped. I do not know how, and I will not think on it. There were notes under the door. Many. One with a line about thirst is worship. One with the numbers written big. 3, 2, 1. In a row with slashes through the old ones. A few with verses I recognized and a few I did not. One with a drawing of the same shapes from the chalk. The papers had smears on them, dark brown. Yeas. When I set them down, they stuck a little. I looked through the peephole when the bell got quiet. I should not have. He was right there, too close. The glass made his eye big. He did not move when I saw him. His eye did not blink. He had a gray beard cut short, with a knife. His lips were cracked. He had chalk on his fingers and ash on his sleeves. He had a small bell in his left hand and a roofing nail in his right. Long nail. He smiled, not wide, just enough for me to see he was missing one front tooth. He tapped the nail on the glass. Tick. He did it slow so I could count. Tick, tick, tick. 3 times. "Daniel," he said through the wood like there was no wood. "Open so I can make you clean." Anna pulled me back so hard my neck hurt. I had not breathed. The power died then. I do not know why I even thought we had power. The one bare bulb in the hall had been on and then it was not. Maybe a break in the line. Maybe he cut it. It does not matter. We lit candles and set them in jars so the wax would not run. I did not like shadows then. Every corner had an extra shape. We made things. That is the only way I could feel better. I taped kitchen knives to broom handles. I poured salt in a line by the back door. That was dumb. It did nothing. It looked like a line of sugar. I went to the crawl space hatch and tied a rope around it and a chair, so if it opened without the rope loosened, I would hear. I told Anna to sleep on the couch with the hammer under the pillow. She nodded, but she did not sleep. I went room to room and wrote our names on paper and put them in books. It felt like that would anchor us. I know how it reads. I was not right. He talked again from the radio, but this time it was one word at a time, like the air was thick. Day. The bell. 3. The bell. Hungry yet? That was not scripture. He laughed and cried at the same time then, or he breathed funny. I could not tell. He said a verse about the hungry being blessed. He said, "Do not strike me. It is written, do not strike me." He whispered, "Daniel," soft, like at a wake. He said, "Mark." The radio scraped inside like someone dragged a coin over the speaker. I pulled the plug out of the wall again. It was already out. I threw the radio across the room. It landed on its face and made a bark of feedback and then was quiet. Anna slapped my shoulder. "Stop," she said. "You are making it worse." "I will go," I said. I meant I would run for the fence or the road. I will draw him away. I said it like I would, but I did not. I did not go. I am writing that because it is true. I did not go. We ate the last apple. I cut it in two and gave her the bigger half. She tried to push it back. I closed her fingers on it. "Eat," I said. We did not drink water. I do not know why. I think I was afraid to go to the sink. It felt like something would be there, under the cabinet, where the crawl space opened. He stopped banging after midnight. The house got still. The ash circles blurred where the draft touched them. The chalk marks looked dirty in the candlelight. Somewhere near the front, nails ticked the glass. Not wind, just a rhythm. Tick, tick. Then the bell. One clean ring that made the hairs on my arms stand. I slept a little right before dawn. It was heavy and stupid sleep. I woke when the chair tipped in the kitchen. The rope had pulled it when the hatch moved. I was up and in the kitchen before I knew I was awake. I grabbed the broom handle knife. Anna came behind me with the hammer. The hatch was up a few inches. It moved a little, not enough to be open, just enough to breathe. I could see dark and smell dirt and something sour, like old breath. I kicked the hatch and it closed. The rope held. We dragged the dresser over and put it on top of the hatch. We sat on the dresser. We sat there for an hour. The radio hissed. Day 2. I had not kept track with him. I do not know if the count was right anymore. The diary said 5 days, but his count was odd. He said 2 and coughed. 2, Daniel. 2, Anna. He rang the bell twice. He said, "Wash. Make ready." We did not. We had no water up from the well. We had a jug with 2 inches in the bottom. We looked at it and then looked away. That evening a note came that only said, "Peephole." I could not help myself. I looked. The glass was empty. No eye. Just the yard. The ash lines were thicker. The chalk sigils doubled. And then, as I was about to step back, his face slid into the circle. He had been to the side, waiting. He put his mouth right up to the glass so it fogged. Soon, he said so soft that I heard air more than sound. The bell rang once. He grinned. His front gums were purple. He showed me the nail like a promise. He had 2 more in his shirt pocket. He tapped each one on the glass. Tick, tick, tick. Anna cried then. She put her hands over her face and made no sound. I went to her and I wanted to say I had a plan. I had none. I told her, we make it through the night. Then we run. She nodded. She said, we leave the radio. That was smart. I said yes. I wish we had left right then. The last night there was no sermon until late. We thought maybe he was gone. We were fools. We ate nothing. We drank the last water and it made my stomach cramp. I think it knew it was the end. The radio was quiet in a way that felt like it was holding its breath. At midnight the bell rang in the hall, not the radio. It rang from the crawl. Not a recording, not a speaker. It rang so close I flinched and said a prayer in the wrong order. I crossed myself 3 times. I stood and my legs ached like they were rusted. The rope creaked. The chair slid. The hatch opened slow, like someone balanced it with fingertips. I saw his hand first. It was clean. He had washed. Maybe in the pond. The nails were trimmed neat. They were pale and had chalk under them. He pushed and the dresser groaned. I jumped down and pressed my shoulder to it. Anna hit the top with the hammer, like that would help keep it down. The bell rang again. He had it on his wrist with a bit of cord. It brushed the beam and rang. He laughed. Not loud, just a little breath. It made me want to hurt him. He forced the hatch up a hand's width. Fingers came through. The bell swung. The nail poked up, and then the nail dragged and carved a line into the underside of the hatch. He scratched a verse there, fast, and the wood dust fell on his arm hair. "Go," Anna said. I understood. I nodded. I kicked the dresser back an inch to bait his push. He shoved, and the hatch opened enough for his head to come through. He had put ash on his forehead in a cross. He was smiling. He made eye contact with me, and his eyes were not wild. They were clear. That made it worse. He said, "Be marked," and he pushed up with his shoulder and came through in a flood of dirt and air and bell sound. I swung the broom knife and hit his forearm. The knife went in shallow, then stuck on bone. He hissed, but did not pull back. He grabbed my wrist with his other hand and pushed the roofing nail to my throat. He did it with care. He did not stab. He placed it like a pen. He rang the bell with his wrist by accident and breathed the line of a verse between his teeth, the one about binding and loosing. He pressed the point under my left collarbone and said, "Seal," so soft I heard spit in the word. Anna hit him with the hammer. She hit his shoulder. He winced but did not let go. He tried to ring the bell in her face. She hit his ear then. The bell went quiet for a second. He grinned at her and said, "She will cry clean water," like the diary had promised that, or he wished it. She raised the hammer again, but he pulled me between them and I took the next hit on my upper arm. It went dead at once. I still have that numbness when I press it. She said, "Sorry," out loud in a wild voice. He shoved me back and pinned me against the sink cabinet. I felt the sway of the pipes. He spit on his thumb and drew one of the chalk shapes on my chest where he wanted to put the nail. The chalk was gritty and cold. He said, "Mark," again like he was tired of explaining. He pushed the nail and my skin folded and then gave and blood ran warm. It was not a stab like in a movie. It was a slow, mean push. I yelled without trying to be brave. The wound felt like it took my breath and ate it. I brought my knee up to his thigh and he folded an inch. Just enough. I shoved him and we fell together onto the hatch. The hatch blew open and we both slid half down. My hip hit the beam. He lost the nail. It fell and made a noise like a coin. The bell clanged on the edge. His head hit the joist and he cursed for the first time. A plain farm curse. Not a scripture word. I loved him for that in a mad way. I took the hammer from Anna's hand. No, I did not take it. She shoved it in my palm, and I hit his temple once. He went soft for a breath. I hit him again on the cheek. His eyes rolled to look at me, and then his hand found my throat and squeezed. He had farmer hands. He had done work once. I thought of that while black started at the edges. Anna took the broom knife and put it under his ribs. I felt her twist. I felt it in my own gut. He let go. His mouth made a small O, like a child seeing snow. He whispered something. It might have been my name. I think it was a verse. I will tell you I did not hear it because I do not want to write it. He slid back into the crawl on his knees and then rolled to his side and was gone under the beams into the dark. The bell rung once more, like he caught it with his heel. Then it was still. We stacked everything we had on the hatch. We sat with our backs to it. We counted to 100 together, and then 200. I bled onto the bandage Anna pressed to my chest. She folded a clean shirt under it and tied it with a dish towel. The chalk smeared and left a faint shape on my skin, a cross and a hook, like in the diary sketches. She spat on a rag and rubbed it. It lightened but did not go. "It's over," she said. Her hands shook and I held them. I said, "We go now," and we did. We took nothing but car keys, the one jug with a sip in it, and a coat for her. We did not take the radio. We stepped over the ash on the front step. I did not look down. I kept my eyes on the gravel of the drive. It was light, like late morning. The air smelled clean. I do not know how we made it to the road because I cannot fill that part in. We were just there, and a truck picked us up, and the man did not look at us. He drove us to the gas station. We bought water. We drank until we hurt and then drank more. We told no one. Now I am writing this where we sleep now. The light is bad. My chest itched under the bandage and I had to take it off to scratch. The cut is a line with a hook. The skin around it is gray like chalk sneaked into it. I wash it and it stays gray. Maybe it is a bruise. I do not know. We made it out. I think we did. We made it out and left the radio there. I am sure of that. But when the room is quiet and Anna is asleep and I stop rubbing at the bandage, I hear it. Not music. Not even a voice clear. Just the shape of my name in the air. Small, patient, coming from the nightstand where there is no radio at all, and the itch under the gauze starts to tick like nails on glass. Yeah. Every story has a price. For this one, it's simple. A like and a subscribe. That's how we keep the ritual going. Miss a step, and the next upload might not find you. See you in the next one.